Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin Leopard, your online cello teacher, here today with Higher Hertz to talk to you about how to get a great tone. So this is sort of an intermediate bow lesson. This is a follow-up to the first lesson, so definitely watch that if you haven't. It's going to teach you the basics of the bow hold and sort of the way that the bow hold changes as you move the bow across the string. It's also going to talk about some of the different types of sound that you can get. But today, I really want to talk about specifically getting a nice, thick, warm, full sound that you really associate with cello. Not something that's too harsh, not something that's too thin, but something that's thick and warm and really great. So a couple of reminders if you're struggling with your tone and you're working on it every single day, make sure that your bow's rosined, make sure that your bridge looks like it's set up properly. The way that you can check that is if it looks perpendicular to you. If not, you can very gently hold on to the bass and adjust the top with your fingers gently, and only to make it more straight up. The other things that you might just want to look out for are how your contact point is and whether you're aware of your body. So that's how we're going to start today. We're just going to start by reiterating some of the important posture points of basically standing while you're sitting. Having your feet on the floor can really help you feel rooted, as well as kind of triangulate you along with the chair being kind of a third leg. And you're able to move your body really well. So you want to be able to feel like your core is moving, that your shoulders are relaxed, that your back is relaxed. That means that, you know, when it's time to do the sound that you want, you can do that. All right, so I'm going to talk concept and then we're going to talk practice. The concept of getting a great tone is to try to hit a sweet spot. So no matter what you're doing, you can overdo it. And this might be something that you've already found. So it's you know, a problem if your bow sound is very light, if you're not able to get in the string, or if you're rocking over and hitting other strings. So that's kind of on the one extreme of lightness. But also if you're too heavy, and you know, I'm perfectly relaxed right now, you get something where it chinks, or it wasn't the tone you intended, or maybe you had played too far down or too far up, and some crunch happens. So it's not just about relaxing and about digging into the strings, it's also about making sure to be able to conceive of a good sound and be able to try to produce it. So that brings us to part 2 of the concept portion, which is listen to a lot of cellists and try to, the term is audiation, when you hear in your head something that you are hearing in front of you. So you want to be able to rehear the sound of the cello in your head the way that you can remember a conversation. Almost every single person can do this. So if you can't, that's a very special case. Otherwise, you're going to be able to hear some sort of echo of what's going on. What we're going to talk today about is translating that echo of a great sound into something that you yourself can do. So I want to, in terms of the practice, go even more extreme. But in the first video, talking about using the fingers as springs and being relaxed when you're getting your sound. Because you can be kind of all over the place. I would call all of this acceptable at some moment or another in terms of playing the cello. You don't have to have a perfectly static bow hold. In fact, as we talked about in the first video, if you don't adapt your bow hold, you'll end up out here with a very awkward looking wrist. So that's not really the goal here. The goal is to be able to use the hand as a pivot point so that the contact between the hairs and the string are consistent. So that's the thing that makes bow a little trickier than the left hand, I think, is that you're one step removed from what's going on. You're not actually, what you feel with your fingers isn't quite related to the sound. When you pluck, that is true. But with the bow, you're controlling an instrument that's controlling your instrument. So you really have to be able to think about, like, get into the mindset of the string. How does the string want to move? And I can show you here just how important it is to not overplay either, because you can see especially here, the width of the vibration of the string. It gets wider when I play it louder. And if I play it too loud, it hit the neighboring strings and it caused them to vibrate, even though I didn't ostensibly play those notes. So I like to imagine shapes when I'm playing a lot, and to imagine the slow motion of waves. So if you have a really short wave, even if it's going really fast, it doesn't have as much energy as a slow, wide wave. Why am I talking about this? Well, you can feel abstractly the concept of a wave when you're playing. Okay, so this is a little bit abstract. However, when you first come into the string, you can sink into it, and the whole wave is the bow stroke, going back and forth, sinking into it, and being big. So even without vibrato, start to try to find a sound that at least pulls a little bit. That's what I think is really important for getting like a really nice, rich sound. You gotta start in the string, and you gotta, not like I did initially where I wasn't 100% sure of my contact point, I didn't know what I was gonna play exactly, but you wanna be in the string and then allow yourself to play and allow the string to vibrate as much as, 75, 80% of what's possible. But again, you don't want to hit those other strings. So vibrato plays a huge role in warmth. When we talk about warmth in a recording context, we're usually talking about adding harmonic information through distortion. That's what warmth generally is. So if you listen to an old vinyl record and it's got some little clicks and pops and there's maybe some hiss in it, that's adding warmth, okay? And it has that little bit more technical definition in a recording context. Similarly, thickness has a more technical definition in a recording concept, where thickness might mean that it's wider in the audio spectrum. You're hearing just as much out of the left speaker as the right speaker. It could just mean that there's more transfer of sound in between. So I would say that the primary driver of warmth in the cello is the actual pulling of the string and the sound of the bow hair against the string. That's some very high-end information that you're always hearing. I'm muting the string, but that sort of sound is always going to be present in what I'm playing. So if a lot of people like to mic really close to the bow and they get that sound, that's warmth already. When you add the vibrato element, though, you're causing some sort of motion, and the motion causes it to feel like it has more depth, to feel like it has more thickness. So if you combine really pulling in the string and then also pushing through the string, feeling the big waves, you combine all of that with these concepts of trying to get just the right amount of size and warmth and using vibrato to control some sort of rate of depth. Those are all of the features, those are all of the facets that you're going to put into making a great sound. So from a purely technical perspective, you can just sit there kind of sawing back and forth, trying to kind of almost lull yourself with the meditative quality of that. The other thing you can do, though, is you can take something that you're practicing and slow it down. Even the fastest of things, when we hear them as being clean, are the result of some sort of smooth, connected action. Even if there's a sharp articulation, the actual way that the bow prepares to then play the next note can be smooth and refined. So what we want to be able to do is slow things down and find those big waves in the music so that when we speed it up, it's going to be all right. So, if we have something simple and we want to try to make that cleaner, all we got to do is go real slow, But every note, I'm trying to feel that motion. I'm not using any vibrato yet because this is a fast passage. I'm not going to need vibrato. And you might have to adjust the bowing a little bit, but as best you can, if I wanted to do that whole figure up, except for the last note, which I'm doing down, I should probably try to do that, but big, I kind of ran out of room on the last two notes. But again, we're slowing down something that's faster. Let's see what this has done to improve the clarity of this musical concept. So by being able to slow it down and specifically work on the actual minute phrasing of it, essentially, we're able to improve even fast things, but especially slow things. And when we include vibrato, that's a whole nother layer, because when we're talking about feeling these motions, well, the low point of the vibrato is like here, and then the high point of the vibrato is like here, right? So if we have the wave of the bow moving this way, the vibrato can bring us this way, and then we're really huge, okay? So let's compare what is still a decent tone but a light tone without much vibrato, then to something that's a lot thicker with more control of vibrato. It doesn't mean more vibrato, because just like with overdoing it with the strings, you can overdo it with vibrato. If I have a nice resonant thing like that and then I blow the crap out of it with vibrato, I mean, it still is loud, but it's not as big because it's not as interesting to listen to. Largeness in part comes from beauty, because the listener themselves wants to bring themselves into the center of the fold of what they're hearing. So that's totally fine. That can work in a lot of musical contexts. But today we're talking about getting a big, warm sound, improving our bass sound to be able to deliver something, you know, like the Brahms cello sonata. You don't want to because as nice as that can sound, the opening of that movement is something that's a lot bolder. And if it's that light, it's going to be a little mismatched with the piano. So again, we're not talking about every single type of sound you can make with the bow. There's a lot of sounds you can make with the bow, but in this lesson we want to talk about getting things that are big and warm and just really awesome to listen to. So let's just take this concept and do one more example of playing slowly and trying to feel all of these dimensions that we can control with the sound. Not overdoing them, not underdoing them, and trying to think big as opposed to small. I'm just going to play freely, but I'm going to imagine these concepts. So this is directly a practice technique you can use, just practicing doing it with whatever notes come to mind, but to practice the concept of phrasing well and getting a big warm sound. So all of the normal things apply about starting the string, but we just want to be able to think about the phrasing of the music also being naturalistic. So this is where we're going to use our ear for things that we've heard in music, and we're going to try to really intend for what we're playing. And because we're playing slow, hopefully there's enough time to think in advance about what we're doing. So hopefully, you know, throughout what I was playing there, you could feel the phrasing that I was trying to do. All of that stuff is controllable. The whoa, that's a bow thing. The whoa, da, 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 that's a vibrato thing. So you can take these dimensions and consider that the vibrato can help add width and thickness, and that the bow can help add warmth and strength. And if you combine those two elements together and these different axes of depth, you can find something really great. The final thing I just want to touch on very quickly before we close out this video is if you're still struggling with this, but you're able to kind of play one note with a good sound, then chances are that you need to work on your transitions between notes. So this includes both being able to time the bow changes with the finger changes, being able to time the shifts. And if you have a shift that's not clear, like one that can often get me is like, you know, you'll shift from say like this E to this F, but you're doing it fast and it does something weird. So one thing that you can do is start reaching back in advance. Even if you can't reach the full interval, I don't even know if I can. Okay, so I guess I technically can, but it's very awkward. So you can just move into this. So I'm like here, and I was able to move in advance. Got that? And then same there, you know. If there's too much noise, you know, maybe that's not what you want. So a little pause with the bow gives you just enough time to be able to shift up to that note. And you can practice that under tempo too. So hopefully this video has given you guys concepts that you can use to help improve your sound. Maybe it shows you some of those simple tweaks you can make to fix your sound, and also talked about some abstract concepts to be able to improve what's really going on, especially when we talk about warmth and thickness and getting that just, you know, classic cello sound. The one that even if we're not playing classical music is really what the cello is about for a lot of people. The one that's going to be the most emotional, at least most of the time. Anyways, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, I'm Justin Leopard, also known as the Vagabond Cellist, and you guys are watching Higher Hertz. Please subscribe and hit the bell for notifications on all our cello lessons, and let us know how you're going with your cello journey. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you guys in the next video.